Anyway, okay, we're going to get going. I pulled this quote from General Patton this morning. So I got to tell you, in our business, if you're not prepared to take some risks, you're in the wrong business. It seems like we're always taking calculated risks. So anyway, welcome to our April meeting. We're going to get rolling. We do have a couple of new agents. I can't remember their name. Benjamin is one of them, and another one, and neither one of them are here. However, did I introduce Ingrid last time?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to introduce Ingrid a second time. Because Ingrid has kind of taken on a little bit of a new role for us in addition to the role she was doing before. Ingrid's going to be doing some recruiting calls. Not going to be doing some recruiting calls. She is doing some recruiting calls. So I'm getting all sorts of wonderful, is that too loud? I feel like I'm loud. I'm getting all sorts of wonderful compliments about Ingrid. Specifically, for no other reason, we've got her in the bullpen. We've got her in probably one of the more highly trafficked areas of the bullpen, with maybe the exception of down on the property management side. And she's on the phone all day, talking to agents. She really has no idea what our business is about. And
who does?
She's, right, exactly.
Fits in well.
Right. But she's not shy. And she sounds, and again, honestly, I haven't heard her make one phone call, but from what I've heard from those around her, that she's pretty darn good. So anyway, she's been making some phone calls, following up on some offers that Drew and Stacy have been writing. And then about a week or so ago, we kind of transitioned her into, 20% of her day or 50% of her day is doing that. And the rest of her day is basically making recruiting phone calls, which of course we're all familiar with getting those recruiting phone calls. So at any rate, the only reason I point that out is there might be a lesson to be learned by all of us, by somebody who really knows nothing about our business, just thrown in a bullpen in front of a bunch of people that she doesn't know. And granted, she gets paid to make the phone calls. Okay? If she's not making the phone calls, I'm going to fire her. But we all could probably learn a lesson from that. This business really isn't that complicated. You pick up the phone, make the phone calls. Don't be embarrassed to make the phone calls. And I know what that feeling is. It just seems like yesterday I was a brand new agent in this business and had a desk in the bullpen just like everybody here. And I can remember it just seemed like it took forever, and I mean months, maybe even longer, maybe years, before I actually really felt comfortable sitting in a bullpen. Yet, forget about talking to clients, but God forbid actually making that phone call. Hey, this is Lance Martin with Coldwell Banker, calling to see if you might be interested in selling your house. That's tough. And I got to tell you, it must be tough, because to be blunt, I don't see anybody doing it. I really don't. Now, maybe you're doing it elsewhere. Maybe you're doing it at home, or you're doing it. But I don't see people in the bullpen prospecting. So at any rate, if you just want to maybe kind of stand over here and pretend you're going to go to the restroom and listen to Ingrid, from what I hear, she's pretty good. So at any rate, we'll see. And frankly, with this new agent slide in mind, recruiting is the lifeblood of this business. Needless to say, Prudential's in town, and other offices I'm sure will be coming into town as the office changes or as the market changes. But we're going to do some strategic recruiting. So again, thanks again to Ingrid. Brad's around here somewhere. He missed his spotlight, so we're going to go right by him. Website portals, make sure you guys are continuing to check the portals.
He's making coffee.
It's my complete understanding that on a regular basis we're not checking the portals. You need to check the portals. There's a lot of good stuff there. Our Coldwell Banker calendar is pretty much up to date, although the training schedule needs to be tweaked. If you look at the training schedule for tomorrow, it says contracts. Pretty sure it does. I just looked at it yesterday, unless you changed it. Anyway, we're done with contracts. We finished part 3 of our contract class yesterday. What we're going to do tomorrow, oh, there's Brad, is Brad is going to take an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever time we can fill, and basically do a class on the mortgage side of what we're doing. So Brad and I talked about it yesterday. We thought we'd kind of make it a little bit of an open forum kind of deal. So if you guys have some specific questions or some topics, you hear all this stuff about Dodd-Frank. I think for most of us, myself included, whenever I hear Dodd-Frank, I just kind of say like, okay, what does that exactly mean for us on a day-to-day basis? And you'll hear about rules or regulations that aren't set. But at any rate, does anybody have any specific financing related stuff they'd like to see? Any requests? Open
Stated
mic?
income loans.
What's that?
How about stated income loans?
Stated income loans? Okay, they're coming back a little bit. Has PHH got a stated income program?
Not yet.
Okay. Keep in mind when I say PHH, Brad's got his Coldwell Banker mortgage badge on, but he's basically also PHH, which is the what? The fourth largest lender in the country?
You put them all together,
Yeah,
it's
put them
number
all
4.
together. Stated income is coming back. As a matter of fact, I saw a couple emails within the last month that basically talked, pretty much almost 100% financing program. I don't know who's doing that or where it's coming from, or whether it's Joe's House of Loans out of Tijuana or what's going on. Be careful with that, needless to say. And the same thing with stated income. I got to tell you, one of the things that I really think was ultimately a very, very bad situation for the market was the death of stated income loans. But we abused it, okay? As somebody who needs a stated income loan, which is, when I say somebody, all of us need stated income loans. As independent contractors, we're hopefully making significant scratch, okay? But we also have the ability as independent contractors to write off everything legally and legitimately under the sun. That in effect say, hey, I can write off this and I can write off that because I'm running my own business. Unfortunately, from a tax return standpoint, that can create real problems. So when you turn in a tax return and say, wow, I just made $250,000 last year. Well, your tax return says you made 20. So it's a little difficult to qualify for that house. So stated income loans were always a nice method for folks like us to be able to go buy some houses based upon the fact that we did really make some money. Hopefully we had reasonable credit and we haven't had that damage in the last few years with this market. But anyway, it sounds like they're coming back. I know, because I asked Brett if PHH did those, and for no other reason, I know that not everybody did stated income loans. And a lot of the people that did do them, one of the reasons we don't have them today the way we did before is because they now let the gardener do stated income loans. Had no income and stated that he made $250,000, when in reality he made $30,000. So, hey, we'll see. So anyway, tomorrow at 1, Brad, did you have any specific things you wanted to talk about in tomorrow's class, or just want to just leave it open and we'll see how it flows?
Well, if anybody will shoot me an email, if there's something you want me to specifically have anything about, whether it be FHA, VA, conventional financing, tricks of the trade, the USDA program, stuff like that. I'll have a little bit of information on Dodd-Frank. You can even bring your own scenario. If you got a scenario or a particular deal, I know that normally most everybody else doesn't want it. So if we keep that to 4 or 5 minutes tops per scenario, it can just kind of give you the lay of the land of what's happening with the guidelines. The guidelines are actually misquoted these days. It's not a guideline anymore. It used to mean you could go a little above or a little below. It's a rule. It's period. They don't hedge at all. Common sense is gone. There's no common sense in lending anymore. So just shoot me an email and we'll cover it tomorrow. It's
Okay.
your day.
Sounds good then. So on the calendar, who looks at this? Please. Oh, okay, good. I was going to say please someone raise their hand. Okay, I got 4 or 5 people raising their hand. Okay, our calendar for tomorrow's training is wrong. We are not doing the purchase contract. We are done with the purchase contract. So we'll go ahead and have Brad do some mortgage stuff. And then next Thursday, it looks like we're back on track. We're going to do listing agreements and then disclosures and then more disclosures and stuff. So keep an eye on that as well. One thing I noticed we haven't done yet is we need to get the Claremont and the Covina and the Redland schedule up there too. So we don't have any of that on there. So at any rate, okie dokie. Let me go back here. Okay, so our training calendar is up to date. Our monthly sales awards, which Drew has prepared and are ready to go.
Whoops.
Not. But we do have names. So our our March highest closed sales agent is Michael Blowout. Michael! There he is. It's been a while since Mike's been to the sales meeting. He must have known that he was the top dog for March, so here he is. And we'll get you a nice framed plaque here shortly. And I don't see her here, our top, we actually had a top listing agent for last month, and that was Diane Arnold, and Diane is out. So, at any rate, give Diane a hand in her absence. Okay, what do we got? Market data. I'm going to, do me a favor, Steven, grab one of those and just pass them around. I actually made copies of these. These might be a little bit easier for everybody to kind of take a look at. Only going to take a look at one slide here. I got to tell you, does anybody feel the market changing for the better? Okay, and again, I understand that we are still not quite, and I feel like I've been saying this for months and months and months. I almost feel like I have to apologize to those of us in the audience who aren't quite feeling it and haven't quite seen it yet. Having said that, if you're not feeling it and you haven't seen it, you're being passed by. Somebody is out there getting that business, okay? We are getting our fair share of that business as the 5 collective offices. So if you're still struggling to capture what has ultimately been a very positive sign in the marketplace for the last few months, then we need to start talking business plan and find out why. Okay, these are the numbers as of March. Okay, let's start with the obvious problem. Red column, inventory, still low. Okay, it does seem to have kind of plateaued at a bottom level, and I keep been saying, if you go to the actual chart, which you guys have in front of you, you know, for 3 months, it's been like, God, when are we going to see the red bar, tick up a little bit? Well, it hasn't ticked up a little bit, but it seems as though we've kind of plateaued for the last 4 months as far as the decline of inventory. So when you look at it from that perspective, I don't think it can get much worse, which is not necessarily a positive statement. But again, if you look 35,000 properties this month, excuse me, March of 13, March of 68,000 properties, basically have half the inventory we had a year ago. And a year ago we were complaining about inventory, right? And then again, if you go 2 years ago, 87,000 properties. So that's, you know, a little more than a third of the inventory that we had 2 years ago. But why am I excited? Because you look at what's under contract. Put 14, this is CRMLS, by the way, all of the MLS. 14,142 properties went pending last month. It's a lot of properties that went pending last month. Okay, and these were not all sold to investors, and these were not all off-market deals, although way too many of them were sold to investors, and way too many were off-market deals. But if you go back, you have 2 years worth of data in front of you, and you look, well, you had a $14,000 month in May of last year, and a $14,000, and again 14,000 unit in March of last year. But there's only been 3 months out of the last 2 years where the MLS has put 14,000 properties under contract. Okay, and we certainly have been progressively getting better and better over the last 4 months. So the demand is obviously there, which, by the way, and when you put that in perspective with the number of units, if you take a look at, for example, this month, 35,000 properties available for all intents and purposes, a little less than half of them sold. Okay, if you go back to May, when there was same number of units sold, we had 62,000 properties, almost twice as many houses on the market to sell that many units. Now again, we talked last time about a lot of these properties are off market, they're not hitting the MLS. If you do go through and you take a look at the properties that did go pending, I haven't done this, somebody needs to do this, maybe Drew or Stacy or one of you guys will take a look at this. And I don't exactly know if there's an easy way to do this in the MLS, but basically look at the pendings. When were they listed, when did they go pending? Were they listed at noon, and did they go pending at noon 01?
Probably.
I know there's going to be a lot of that. That would be a very interesting stat for us to take a look at, because in effect, what that's telling all of us is those properties really were not available in the general pool. They were being sold in-house. They were being sold by the agent. Don, here, comment?
Yeah, which category would backup offers be in? Would that be under the actives, or?
I don't think it's in this number at all.
'Cause there's a lot of backup offers.
Yeah, I don't think it's in that at all.
There's a lot more backups than pending.
Yeah, there's a lot more backups than anything.
Yeah, honestly, that's a good question. I don't know. I know it's not, the active number, just to put this in perspective, anything that's in this column is an active listing. In order to be counted in the 35,030 properties, it had to be active for at least 1 day during the month. Okay, that's how it gets to that number. Or it could have been active for the entire month. It could have been active for 2 minutes during the month. But as long as it was active, when I say 1 day, I don't even think it has to be a day. As long as it was active for 1 minute at any time in the month of March, it's going to be part of that number. The same thing with the pendings. Some of these pendings could have fallen out, but if it was pending for at least one moment in time during the month of March, it's going to show up in the 14th. That's why sometimes these numbers change, and the sold number, if you look at these numbers month over month, especially the sold ones, those are the ones that really change.
So the same house can be in both columns.
Not only could it be in both columns, it's entirely possible that most of these 14,000 properties were part of this 35,000. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, like, look at Moreno Valley right now. And again, I haven't done this. We probably should do this. 105 houses available in the city right now. Well, I don't know if you guys are curious. I piqued my own curiosity.
Okay.
This is live, by the way. So, okay, same chart for Moreno Valley. And basically what I want to look at is I want to see how many properties were available on the last day of the month, which I think is going to be about between 100 and 120. And then we're going to take a look at what the total number, this is Moreno Valley's chart. So, again, values still going up. Here's our supply and demand, which looks, again, very similar to the CRMLS chart. And then we want to do sales rate. Okay. Okay, on the last day of the month, there was 136 properties available. Okay? There were 205 properties that were under contract. So, one of the reasons our inventory is not jumping is because everything that comes on the market is being sold within 24 hours, okay, or less. You know, I had an agent, Bev Mackey, over at Phil Santoro's office, or National Realty, sent me an email yesterday afternoon, sent it to Drew at 5 o'clock, and basically said, I'm going on a listing appointment tonight. This is what it is. Take a look at it and see whether it works for you. I replied back to her at 7 o'clock and said, okay, great. She replied back at 9 o'clock and said, it's in the MLS, and she must have been working late. And she replied back again and said, I've already got offers in. I think I've been at the computer for an hour. So, which is another interesting thing. If you're really desperate, forget about the word desperate. If you really want to stand a chance of getting some of these properties accepted, you probably need to be running your buyer's search. Maybe need to do that after 8, 9 o'clock at night. Maybe need to do that at midnight. And say, oh wow, look at that. Agent goes out on an appointment in the afternoon, sitting at home on their couch watching TV, putting in their new listing at 9, 10 o'clock at night. You know, by the time you see it the following morning when you roll out of bed at 10 o'clock, it may be too late, right? Maybe too late. You maybe need to check that stuff at midnight and then start sending out emails and texts to your clients at midnight 01. Say, hey, guess what? The property just hit the market. I'm going to send you an offer. I need you to sign it before you go to work tomorrow morning so I can get this thing in before this agent even wakes up. But at any rate, Moreno Valley's number is again 136 active as of the last day of the month for 205 under contract. In fact, the more I use these, I've been using these charts for so long, sometimes they still confuse me. But if you look at the actual number, there was 300, okay, this is probably the number that we're trying to figure out. If you look at this number here, there were 396 properties that were available for at least 1 day in the city of Moreno Valley during the month of March. So when you take a look at the, let's just call it 400, and then you only have 120 to choose from today, that means all of those remaining properties went pending, and maybe went into backup status or backup offer or whatever it happened to be. So there is, which gets back to the chart that you have in your hands. You know, there's properties being sold, guys. There are, oops, what did I do with it? What did I do with that chart? Oh, I had it on the screen and I just didn't save it. So at any rate, take a look at that data. We're continually getting this stuff posted on the website. Do with it what you will. Like I say, 14,000 units being sold last month is not a bad thing. I'd be shocked if we don't incrementally add more units to that in the month of April. It's just, you know, and again, there does appear to be ever so slightly a little more inventory coming into the marketplace. So this
Standard sales?
Pardon me?
Standard?
Almost everything's a standard sale. What's the percentage of short sales or REOs that are coming? By the way, I said this yesterday, Drew just about fell off of his chair. I think the REO market's dead. I really do. I don't think it will return in any significant capacity in the foreseeable future, as long as things continue the way they go. If we have some sort of new crisis that hits, maybe so. But I think it's dead for a couple reasons. Not that there's still not tens of thousands of properties that are in default and need to be foreclosed upon. But guys, those properties that are in default and need to be foreclosed upon are not being foreclosed upon. That has been the story of Fannie and Freddie and the banks for going on a couple of years now. To put that in perspective, Dwayne has received 3 Freddie Mac properties this year. We've received 5 Fannie Mae properties this year, and 1 property from an outsourcer. That's it. If you take a look at the last 6 months of 2012, with the exception of November and December, which was kind of an anomaly, we seem to be picking up a few properties, but if you take a look at the last 6 months of last year, we received 15 properties maybe? We could receive 15 properties in 2 or 3 days. So, at any rate, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I think with this, and frankly, as long as property values continue to do what they're doing, you know, we're going to see more and more standard sales. The standard sales sellers seem to get it. I don't know why there was a thing in CoreLogic yesterday that said somebody said that we're going to do 1 million short sales next year. Okay. All right. Should have done 2 million short sales last year. But at any rate, market, it's nuts.
So if you're prospecting, should you waste your time on short sale, or is that a waste of time versus?
I don't think it's a waste of time. I think this is what I would do if I was you guys prospecting for listed inventory right now, which if you're not prospecting for listed inventory right now, I don't know what you're doing. You need to get data like on the chart, and you need to show that, by the way, if you do the calculations, and again, this is really not the chart you want to show. The chart you want to show to your clients is this chart. Okay, that's Moreno Valley, and maybe that's not as dramatic of an increase as the visual that you want, but that's a 20% increase, 19.7% increase from here to here. If you calculate it from here to here, it's about a 30% increase. So if I'm prospecting for listings right now, I'm going out knocking doors and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, did you know that the property values in Moreno Valley just increased 30% in the last 12 months? Or, God forbid, you do the old school technique where you put together a flyer that says, here's all the homes that sold in your neighborhood in the last 60 days. Anybody ever seen any of those before?
I just got one on my door yesterday.
At the end of time. Stephen just dropped off 400 of them the other day. Now again, I've been getting, there's one agent, which by the way, this is interesting. I've lived in the same house in Riverside for, I don't know, 14, 15 years now. I have received consistently one marketing piece from one agent for 14 or 15 years. Bullings. Don and Charles Bowling. Okay, this I got you. Okay, if I wasn't a realtor, remember guys? And you know what they do? They send out again, They got my attention. They sent out a piece of crap photocopied thing that just says these are the houses that are sold. Now let's suppose we're not connected to the market as well as the consumer's not as well connected as we are, and we're taking a look. Oh my God, look at the Joneses' house. It's just like ours. They just sold it for $275. Last time I had that conversation with my wife, our house was $195. And we didn't realize, we heard things were getting better, but we didn't realize things had gone up 30% in 12 months. That's the information we need to get out. Yeah.
I don't want to tell sellers when I'm door knocking that it's gone up 30%, because I've been telling them 10, 15%, and most of them that are thinking about selling say, okay, I want to wait and see how much it goes up.
Right.
You know?
Okay, well that may be fine. And again, you're going to get that, but you're always going to get that. Oh, I don't want to go on, things are going up too fast. I wouldn't do that though. I wouldn't be concerned. I would be truthful. Let's just suppose,
Well, I'm talking Riverside.
oh, well, Riverside, you know, Tijuana, I don't know that it matters. You know, you find a property in that neighborhood that just sold for, let's just say Sunbeam Ranch. We sold a couple properties recently in Sunbeam Ranch for just say $220. Okay, sold, closed. I'm Lance Martin with Coldwell Banker Pioneer Real Estate. Just want to let you know we just closed escrow on this house around the block for $220,000. You may not be aware property values have gone up $220,000. What do you think? Nobody else who might want to move in the neighborhood. You know, nobody wants to sell. You're going to get people that are going to say, huh? Or pull up a new listing. The new inventory that's a bit, let's again, I don't know why Sunbeam Ranch, but let's just say Sunbeam Ranch. You get a new listing in Sunbeam Ranch right now that's going to be listed for $250, which is maybe a little bit overpriced. I don't know. Let's just pretend for a minute that that's overpriced. The last comp was $220. It'll probably sell for $250 at the rate things are going. So go out and say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. I was looking at a house around the block. It's just like yours, or similar to yours. It was listed for $250,000. What? Yeah. Gosh, last I checked, I thought it was worth $170. Now there's two close comps at $220 and $225. This guy's asking $250. What do you think? You know, would you be interested in selling if you could get $250? Guys, do what Ingrid's doing. Just pick up the phone, start calling these folks. So, anyway, I got a lot more data to cover, and we're running out of time. We will be done by 10, though, just so you know. I promise. Okay, so at any rate, so that's what's going on. Like I say, the numbers are increasingly getting better. The news. I know nobody subscribes to the Riverside Press Enterprise. I couldn't stand this, though.
Easy, big fella.
What's that?
I still do.
You, Michael, and I? Checks from banks are coming. Headline in the business section today.
I announced that yesterday.
Shall I read on? Borrowers who may be wrongfully foreclosed upon could get from $300 to $125,000 based upon the settlement earlier this year. This is the robo-signing settlement. So basically it goes on and on and on. I can't wait to see how this all shakes out and what the numbers ultimately are going to be. It's probably going to take 6 months or a year to figure it out. But I bet, first of all, I can count on, yes, 0 fingers, the number of people that I'm personally aware of that have been wrongfully foreclosed upon. Unless you count wrongfully foreclosed upon by not making your payments. Okay? So, anyway, with that in mind, I think when this is all said and done, which caused a gigantic, crater in our real estate market, the vast majority of these people that are going to be getting checks are going to be getting checks for probably $300.
No, that's what they said. Doesn't it say in the article?
I didn't read the whole
Less than
thing. I just,
$1,000?
honestly, I read it and I couldn't get past the headline. I was nauseated. I hadn't had breakfast yet. I'm like, okay. So, and again, don't misunderstand me if you have a little different opinion. If somebody was wrongfully foreclosed upon, and Fannie or Freddie or Wells or B of A did them wrong, fine. There's all sorts of remedies for them and they should be made whole. But I don't know who those people are, guys. I think I've seen 2 or 3 news stories on 60 Minutes about somebody with a house in the backwoods in New York that was foreclosed on, that was current, and there was a mistake made on their paperwork. I don't know of any, does anybody know of anybody in the Inland Empire that has been wrongly foreclosed upon?
Can I share something on that?
You do?
Yeah, my client, well,
Was she current on her payments?
no, we weren't.
Well then what was wrong, why was she wrongfully foreclosed upon?
They doing a short sale.
Let me recast my question. I don't know anybody who's been wrongly foreclosed upon who is current on their payments.
I do, and I can tell you why that happened and why it got it blown out if you want.
Okay, no, I don't, because we don't have enough time. But this is what I will say about that. As a percentage of the problem, we spent 2 years destroying a real estate market because a couple of people were wrongly foreclosed upon. Now again, if you want to tell stories about short sales that were in the process and close to approval in the foreclosure, I get that. Okay, I get that. But I don't know of a lot of people, Brad knows of one, that were current on their payments that lost their house to foreclosure. I just don't know any. And maybe I'm just old and jaded, but back in the old days, it's pretty simple. You didn't make your payments, you had an NOD in 90 days, an NO notice of sale of 21 days after that, and you were done in 6-7 months, out. We knocked on your door, you gave some reason, I'll refer it over to the attorney. The next day, the attorney said, go over there and tell them to get out, or we're going to evict them. Done. We used to laugh at HUD. Steve will remember this. We used to laugh at the HUD properties, and not laugh, we used to get pissed off at the HUD properties because they would take 12 months to go through a foreclosure process. And we'd say, that's our taxpayer dollars. How dare they take so long to go through a foreclosure process? Because everybody else was doing it in, 6. But anyway, like I say, a much larger story. Maybe that's a good topic of conversation to have in Brad's training class tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
we'll be
that's
in
what's
there.
going on in the news. Everybody, as best I can tell, anybody have any problems with Sky Slope? If not, I'm moving on. I'm thrilled to death with Sky Slope. Love it. Keep going. Okay? Michael, you okay? You just like you jumped right out of your seat. All right, good. We'll keep going with Sky Slope. I'm happy. Escrow's capture rate of our escrows is phenomenal. Anybody got a problem with summer they want to talk about publicly? Anybody love summer?
Love summer!
Love summer. I got to tell you, that girl's a rock star. I'm pretty sure she's setting the record. Well, every month she's pretty much setting records for this office. Keep in mind we only have a couple-year history of escrow. But she's smoking. I love her. Absolutely love her. So, yes, summer. And she's so busy, she can't even come out and say hi to us anymore. Yeah, that's right. Debbie's got an escrow to close. Anyway, she's doing great. Property management, trucking along. Aubrey, you're doing great. Thank you. Love you. All right. Excellent. And everybody else, I think the rest of the property management department's sick. You might want to stay away from that side of the building. There's something going on over there. Either they're sick or there's a union strike going on or something. Okay, hot topics. We got some important stuff coming up. We talked about the Gem Blue in October in New York. It's sold out. Who's going? Okay, I am going. If you guys want to book a trip to New York, hang out at the bar, see what's going on, maybe do some sightseeing. The registration, the way it stands right now, is sold out. So without us kind of, like sneaking into the concert when we were kids, so to speak, it's going to be a little difficult. I am going to go. Frankly, the main reason to go is not what's happening in the classes anyway, it's what's happening out in the bar and in the lobby. So at any rate, October 7th and 8th, because they sold that out and they never announced it, I have a bunch of flyers to pass out. I feel like a real manager today. Why don't you grab one of those and push them around. Coldwell Banker has done a Gem Blue SoCal. Okay, so Stephen's got a flyer he's passing out. It is June 5th and 6th. It's in Palm Desert at JW Marriott. Anna sent out an email, what, a couple, 3 weeks ago? A couple weeks ago. Who got the email? Okay, who's going to go?
$39.
Good. All
I
right.
have a booth there.
The Coldwell Banker Mortgage will have a booth there. Brad will be there. I will be there. It's a 2-day deal. If you look at the flyer, I don't know his name, but the guy on the left, what's the guy's name? Smith? Chris Smith. Anybody seen Chris Smith before? He's a good guy. Chris Smith works, at least he used to. I don't know if he still does. He used to work at Inman. He was Inman's guy. Okay. When Brad Inman kind of got away from the speaking role at the Inman conferences, Chris took over. Young guy. If he's 30, I'm shocked. He can't be much older than that if he is. He's very techy, but it's all real estate. So if you just go to see Chris alone, that's the reason to go. The tickets cost us 99 bucks. I paid 99 bucks for these tickets. I'm selling them to you for 39. I was gonna give them away, but somebody reminded me that if you give something to somebody, there's no value and there's no motivation for them to show up. If I charge you a couple bucks, maybe you'll actually show up. So I'm not giving any of them away. Don't ask me. If you want to go, give Anna 39 bucks. It's,
And also, if you raised your hand and said you got the email and you still want to go but haven't responded to the email, send me an email and let me know that you want me to reserve a ticket for you.
right.
Okay?
Now, I don't know that this matters or not. However, the evening or late afternoon of June 5th, I'm going to host a reception. Not sure exactly what we're going to do. I have a feeling we probably won't get like a special room kind of a thing, but we'll probably. Has anybody ever been to the JW Marriott?
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice hotel. Okay, the bar right in the middle is pretty nice. I have a feeling we'll just commandeer that bar, and I'll buy the drinks for a couple hours, and maybe we'll throw up a big Coldwell Banker Pioneer banner or something like that. And it's got a nice outdoor bar, and it's assuming it's not 120, maybe we can do something poolside. But anyway, we're going to do a hosted little reception by our office. Frankly, I want to get a whole bunch of people there. It's a good opportunity, frankly, for us to kind of show off a little bit to the Coldwell Banker hierarchy. So if for whatever reason you can't make the conference on the 5th and the 6th, if you would like to drive out have a couple of drinks on me, and then drive home. cut that out of the tape. Anyway, responsibly, of course, with the designated driver, and waivers will be signed. We are going to have a reception on June 5th. It should be a good event. And again, if for no other reason, I don't know what day Chris is speaking, but we'll get the agenda out. If you can't commit to the whole thing, check the agenda, drive out, spend the 2 hours to see what Chris is speaking, and then turn around, go back to business. Okay? We do have one other thing. I know you can't read that flyer with the darn. This is not the final draft. Another one. Look at me. Just handing stuff out left and right.
Those are colors, that's a difference.
Color, yeah. I spent, what is it, 7 cents, right? Or 6.5 cents? Okay. I am super excited about this. All right? This is our second annual Market Forecast and Agent Rally. Who went to the rally that we did last year at the Doubletree in Ontario? Good. We had all 5 offices there. We had 100+ people. I don't remember exactly, 110, 120. It was very well attended. I was very happy. I got up and did a long market data speech and put everybody to sleep, and then John Schumacher with Coldwell Banker got up and did his thing. Anyway, I thought it was a great deal, but I'm kind of getting the feeling that you guys are tired of listening to me show charts and graphs. So I thought I'd have somebody else come up and show charts and graphs. So the first portion of our meeting, and actually this is kind of, Brian threw this out a couple weeks ago, and then Anna said, yeah, let's give it a shot. So we were talking about setting this up, and Brian said, well, geez, it'd be really cool if we could get Christopher Thornburg there. And for most of you guys in this room, you've heard me drone on about Chris for years. So I think it would be cool if we could afford him. So Anna calls and finds out we can't afford him. So then somehow Anna puts me on the telephone with this guy, and through shrewd negotiating skills, over 20 years of salesmanship, I negotiated a price with Chris that we both could live with. So our keynote, if you will, which I think is pretty darn cool, you guys. I don't know if you guys don't think this is cool, then I don't know. I just think it's pretty damn cool. So anyway, so Chris Thornburg will be at our event on May 10th.
Autographs after.
Autographs after, pictures, whatever. Also, and I don't completely have this confirmed yet, even though it's on my temporary flyer, I'm 90% sure that Bruce Norris will also be there. Believe it or not, Bruce owes me a couple of favors. I've done a couple things for him, and I'm strong-arming him to see if he's going to come. This morning I talked to his assistant, and she pretty much said, as long as he's not out of town, which by the way, I just found out this is the Friday before Mother's Day. you know, I don't know who does long weekends for Mother's Day, but if you do, you know, cancel. You need to be there. So at any rate, Chris Thornburg is confirmed for sure, and Bruce is 90% sure. We'll see where we're going to go. So at any rate, more information to follow. We'll get a little, but the date and time is set. It's May 10th. It's a Friday, so it's a month from today. At the Doubletree in Ontario. It should be really good. My thought is assuming we get Bruce, we'll have Bruce come up and do his little forecast for, you know, half hour to an hour. Then we'll have Chris come up and do his forecast for half hour to an hour. And we'll maybe do a 20-minute Q&A with between the two of them, with a little panel session. Then we'll adjourn, and then we'll come back and just do maybe an hour of, you know, rah stuff. You know, what are we doing here in Coldwell Banker Pioneer kind of stuff. So I am going to, just so you know, Mike and I were talking about this yesterday. Great minds think alike, apparently. This is a company event. We're going to have our 5 offices at this event. But just so you know, I'm going to invite every agent worthy of an invitation in the Inland Empire area to this event. Okay? So there may be a few specific agents or offices you may think I might have in mind. So at any rate, I will be, and by the way, you may also invite some folks to these events if you so would like. Okay, it doesn't even have to be another agent. If you've got a client or friend, or you want to bring your wife or husband or whatever, you know, that's fine. The only thing I ask is Anna's going to be sending out some sort of an official invite. We've just got to figure out how many we've got. I don't even, how many people does our room hold right now? 200? 200. Okay, well, if we end up with 500, we got to figure out how we're going to accommodate that. Because I'd love nothing more for there to be 500 people at this thing. So, at any rate, so we're doing that. Anybody excited about that?
Yeah.
You should be excited about it. By the way, this guy's not cheap. Okay, and just to put this in perspective, I have spent thousands of dollars traveling to Florida and to Dallas and to Palm Desert, and there's at least 6 conferences that I went and paid $200 to $800 to register for, and the only reason I went is to see Chris Thornburg speak.
He's good.
He's that good.
Should have just paid him.
Huh? Yeah, maybe, yeah, I didn't realize I could get a private audience with him. Okay, so at any rate, so that's what's going on there. License renewals, this is more, a couple of people, Mr. Miller has reminded me more than once, and a few of you have reminded me, our corporate broker's license is set to expire in 2 weeks. I'm aware of that. Hopefully we'll have our renewal here within the next couple, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever it happens to be. If we don't panic. Which, by the way, you guys might want to be aware of this. Who has a license renewal that's coming up here quickly? Well, August isn't that quick. I actually learned something because I was panicking a little bit myself because paperwork needs to be sent, and you know how long is it going to take to go through the process. I actually learned something. As long as you have filled out your paperwork and you have sent it to the Department of Real Estate, if you get to the expiration date and they haven't processed it yet, you're okay. Okay? But they have to at least have the paperwork in their building, apparently. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Having said that, I know there's a couple of accounts, Don's Wells Fargo account and a few others, you know, these banks specifically are like, hey, you're expiring, you're expiring, you're expiring. As soon as we get the new renewal date, Anna will send out an email to everybody that says, okay, hey, the new expiration date is whatever it is, 2017. Okay? So I will also say I was a little disappointed. Has anybody gone to our website for the licensing school? Well, the continuing education side sucks. So I think I mentioned earlier, if you need continuing education hours, maybe go to our website and try it out. I cannot recommend our licensing school for the continuing education.
I think Carr gives free ones.
Well, kind of. Carr is now giving 12 hours of free continuing education. I went to the Carr. Has anybody gone to Carr to do their continuing education? That's where I went. I got to tell you, it's legit. I mean, it's pretty. Matter of fact, it's actually harder than it used to be. I mean, you can't sit down and finish it all in 2 hours. It takes you 5 or 6 days because you can't do certain things until you do other things. But CAR is where I went. They are offering 12 hours free. The bottom line is it ends up saving you like $15. You know, by getting the extra 12 hours. So, at any rate, there's what's going on there. 2013 business plan. Does anybody want to sit down and do some business planning?
You should.
Can I just
Please.
interrupt here?
Yes.
About two things. First off, if you guys are doing short sales and representing the buyer, because this happened to me, I got shafted on commission, make sure you see what they're presenting to the negotiator. Get a copy of the HUD-1 that is sent out initially, because what's happening is these negotiators, escrows, and agents that work in-house just take it upon themselves to make adjustments without letting you know. And you don't find out until the commission arrives on the doorstep. That's the first thing. The second thing is this new e-key. If anybody's using their smartphone, it's a pain in the butt because their service goes down. It was down all weekend. So make sure you have written down someplace what your e-key, it's in the information log, but written down someplace what your e-key serial number is, as well as the stuff to Kim, so you can call directly and get an update code. Otherwise, you're scrambling around and you show up at a house to try and show it. And It's going to take you 3 or 4 minutes to update your key, and you look like a buffoon.
Right.
So, those two things.
Who's updated, who's got their lock boxes, and who's using the new e-key with their phone? Just 3 or 4 good?
And you need to get a dongle to use with your e-key, because there's still the old lock boxes that are out there that will function for another 90 days before they shut them off.
Right. Who does not have a smartphone? An iPhone or a Droid? Just one of you?
What is a smartphone?
Okay. Okay. Well, let me make a suggestion that if you do have an iPhone or a Droid or a smartphone that's compatible with this new e-key system, you need to get the e-key. You need to get the name e-key. I will tell you, I've been using my e-key now for a while. I've probably had it for over a year. What Mike said is, and I'll give Mike a suggestion here as well. Where I run into problems is I don't go out and show property all that often. I mean, I'm doing it more now with this investor buyer, but normally I don't show property at all. But what I've discovered is if you're not using your key regularly, and maybe you haven't used it for 2 weeks, that can really be the Achilles heel of this thing, because when you go to update it for the first time, and if there's been an extended lapse, there seems to be some sort of hiccup in the system, and sometimes I've had to reboot the phone. I think if you update it and use it every day, or just periodically, or if you are going to show property, hey, I'm meeting with my client today, don't wait till 1 o'clock. Update the key in the morning to make sure it's all working and it's good to go.
Well, the e-key is really the same expense as your little thing anyways, because if you use just their standard, you pay $179 to do the lease for your lockbox key, and the e-key costs you the same if you don't have the professional. Professional's a little bit more expensive.
Right. And I'm not using the professional. I think it's an extra $10 a month.
Well, it sounds like a monthly invoice, right, for the e-key?
No, they take a credit card and they...
Oh.
Yeah, and it's auto. I will tell you though, if for no other reason, and again, if you're kind of wondering what exactly are we talking about, the following reason is reason enough to get it on your smartphone. Is now that the boxes are, and again, there's some exception to this, if you run into an old box, then you still have to have the dongle or whatever. But once all of the boxes are replaced, all the boxes now are Bluetooth. So you don't have to carry anything other than your phone. Your phone now is your key. So you just roll up there, you pull up the app, you punch in the code, and you're good to go. So you don't have to, I mean, how frustrating is it when you can't find your key, or the battery's dead, or it's not working, or whatever it happens to be. So you won't have to screw around with that ever.
The new Supras are Bluetooth?
Yes.
The new Supers are Bluetooth.
So you have to change batteries on them? Because the
Well, you had on the old ones too, they had a battery life, but these new ones shut themselves off. You actually have to activate them to turn them on, to then engage the pairing with your...
Right.
And you can also do it with a tablet, because it's just an application. You can only have one or the other, but if you're using a tablet that's got Bluetooth, you could actually put it in there. But,
Right.
I mean, you could forget your tablet, you're never going to be without your phone, so...
And they are pretty cool. And again, I honestly, not as many, well, I don't take advantage of this, but I
No,
should.
you are.
If you've got a listing on Main Street, and I go out and I show, let's say it's Stephen's listing, I go out and I show it, and Stephen has the e-key application, Stephen will get a little alert that says, hey, Lance Martin just showed your listing on Main Street. Kind of cool. Or you can turn the alert off, and you can just go in and check it, but there's some value to that. Who showed my property, what, when, and all the rest of that. So, at any rate, on the business planning real quick, I have a quick story. I think I told this in the training class, so if you've already heard it, bear with me. This is everyone's familiar with Pavlov's dog and the whole deal. This is I don't know if he's Russian or, I don't know who Pavlov was, but Russian psychologist or some sort of a doctor of sorts who studied the habits of his dog and others. You know, you ring the bell and he gets the treat. You know, you ring the bell and he drinks the water, whatever it happens to be. Let me share something with you as it relates to business planning. This is a true story. This happened to me twice, 2 different occasions. Most recently, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I drive, for most of you know, my new truck is my Ford F-250 pickup truck. Anybody drive a Ford truck? Okay. When you get in the car, when you're driving a Ford truck, the brake release has to be pulled, and it's on basically on the left side. You get in, you push the foot down to set the brake, and you pull the thing to release the brake. Okay? So, about a week ago, like this, again, this happened twice. I did this about a month ago, and then I did it probably 2 weeks ago. I'm driving Drew's truck. Anybody drive a Toyota truck? Okay. Well, on a Toyota truck, to set the brake, you push it with your foot, and to release the brake, you push it with your foot. Okay? Which is a little different than the Ford. So this is the deal. Pavlov's dog is where I'm going with this, guys. I borrow Drew's truck, I go over to the store, I get back in the truck, and there's another thing I learned about myself. This is somewhat important because I think it's part of the whole Pavlov, story. I grab for the stick shift, and apparently I have trained myself that that's my routine. I grab for the stick shift, do the reverse because I'm in a parking lot, and my brain says I then grab for the brake release and I pull. I'm in Drew's truck. Well, what happens when I grab for the brake release in Drew's truck is the hood pops open. Okay? So I'm like, oh, shit, the hood's popping open. I am not in my truck, right? I'm in somebody else's truck and their brake release is not pulling the hood. So I get out of the truck, I'm in a hurry as always, and I go back, I close the hood, I get back in the truck, I just did that. I go to grab the thing and I pull it again. No. I mean, literally did the exact same thing, and frankly, I had done the exact same thing probably a month before that. So I just got to thinking. Well, and one thing I also discovered is I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that my routine was stick shift, brake release. Not that it really matters, but that's what I do. I grab for the shifter and I release the brake. So I got to thinking, how many of us in our business plan or in our day-to-day model of real estate are driving a Ford when the market is a Toyota?
Amen to that.
Or vice versa. I'm guilty of it. So, I mean, we've all heard this type of story in various contexts, but the bottom line is if you're doing what you were doing before in a market that's different than a market today, you're going to be popping the hood instead of releasing the brake. I mean, it hit me just literally like a ton of bricks. I'm like, wow, this is, because I knew I was wrong. That's the part that really hit me. I did it. I'm like, shit. Now, close the hood, jump back in the car, and I did the exact same thing. So, now the thing is, what if I had released the hood and not even realized it? I think that's probably, again, I'm going to take my story to a new analogy. What if on the Toyota, pulling this thing didn't pop the hood? It did something that I don't even know about. Now I'm driving around in a truck with the brake on. I thought I released the brake, I didn't release the brake. Honestly, God, and this may sound a little corny, there's a lot of us, myself included, in many different parts of my business model, we're driving around with a brake on. We have not adjusted. For me Drew almost fell off of his chair. For me to publicly state a couple of days ago, I think the REO market is dead. I just think it's done. Honestly, I think I personally have been kind of holding on to a market that's just not there anymore. And if I had really been honest with myself, I probably would have came to that rationalization a year ago and said, whatever focus and efforts I'm putting into Fannie and Freddie and these other accounts are probably misplaced. Not that I don't want to continue to do one deal a month with these accounts in the future, but if I'm just saying this is my plan, because that's what my plan was, well, this is not 2008. We're in a completely different market. So whether it's short sales or whether you're working with buyers or whatever your business plan is, I think we all need to just pause for a little moment and just, whatever your habits are, you got to get rid of them. You really got to throw it out. So, and anyway, there's my little psychological analysis. So if you want to do a business plan, see me. I think I made this announcement last month. Nobody's come to see me. Okay, so maybe I just need to come grab you by the lapels and we'll sit down and do it. I think that's all I got. Oh, if you want to do a video, we'll set up the video. Anybody want to shoot a video today? Okay, seeing none, we will still have the video equipment available. If you want to do something this afternoon, we'll throw up the green screen or blue screen or whatever screen it is, and we'll make it happen. Okay, we're still doing our Make-A-Wish stuff. There are a few agents that are participating in this. It's completely voluntary. If you want to kick in $5 or $2 or $100 at the close of escrow, just let Anna know. Or, oh, by the way, you guys may not be aware of this. Erica is leaving us. Erica and her boyfriend are moving down to Calexico and kind of starting a new life and all the rest of that sort of stuff. The main reason I mention it is because for those of you that have kind of gotten accustomed to going to Erica, if you've got an issue with a commission check or something like that, Anna's not going to be responsible for the accounting, but you can of course see Anna or Sarah or Lily. Probably between Sarah and Lily we'll be figuring out, commission checks and stuff. So if we run into a little bump in that transition, please just be patient. And we are going to do a little luncheon.
Monday.
Is that a surprise?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So at any rate, okay. Anybody got any questions? Anything going on?
I want a couple minutes.
Brad wants a couple minutes, and then we're done. Come on up, Brad. Oh, and if you want to get on the video this time,
Yes.
you need to stand up here somewhere so we can see you.
Good morning.
Hope my battery just died.
So first of all, I want to thank those of you that have been reaching out to me, the pre-approvals, pre-quals. I actually got my first opening with Coldwell Banker Pioneer out of Santa Ana for $555,000. Woohoo! I was excited. And so I have a best practice to you from Realogy. Does anybody not know who Realogy is? How would you best define them, Lance?
Realogy is the parent company of Coal Banker, C21, Sothersby, Better Homes and Gardens, and ERA. They basically own the name. They own the Coldwell Banker franchise name. I don't know if that's a good description or not, but that's who they are.
And they have a really strong partnership with PHH as well. So we do lending under the PHH name, Coldwell Banker name, Century 21 name, and the ERA name. So when you add all those up and a bunch of others you've never heard of, like Charles Schwab's Mortgage, Morgan Stanley Mortgage, et cetera,
American Express Mortgage.
Yep, there you get how we get to number 4, but when you look at PHH on the normal list, we're like 8 or 9, because we just stay under, those are just the PHH names. So anyway, best practice. Anybody had a problem with an appraisal in the last year? Come on, every hand here should be up. Best practice, what they have found nationwide. Who knows more about that property other than the so-called seller? Should be the listing agent, correct? They highly, highly recommend that you be at the appraisal with the appraiser. If you're the buyer's agent, you might want to be there, and let's say you put it on Saturday and by Tuesday you had 29 offers. And you're $20,000 over asking price. Would it be benefit that appraiser, who I can't talk to as a lender, absolutely forbidden, illegal, I can actually go to jail for it now. It's that serious. Okay? Not that it would probably happen, but it could. If you're there and say, "Hi, Mr. Appraiser, so glad to see you today." You got to be nice, play nice, and say, "Hey, look, I had all these offers. Here's the comps I used to support the sales price that we went in at." Because if you didn't have that, why would you even offer it? If you saw it was maximum 220 and you're offered 270, I don't understand why you would do that, just to get that they're going to have to come in with 50,000 or you're going to have to revise it. I don't know if that works or not, but you know better than I do. But anyway, now you have an opportunity to give him a little heads up, and they're busy. They're very busy, and they're not going to give it the same in-depth checking and looking that you are. So they have found in 30% of the appraisals that were attended by either the listing or buyer's agent, they came in at or above asking price when the agent was there, 30% more. So that's a good best practice to think about. I know it's difficult, but there's, that's one of the most important dates other than the day you first met with your customer. Like, one of my most important dates is to obviously be there at signing an escrow, because it's, when they have questions, you don't want them to run, type of thing. The Gin Blue event in Palm Desert, we will have a booth, Coldwell Banker Mortgage, and we are going to be giving away an iPad. So please come by and register. I will be working the booth on the 5th and be done for the party, and then Paul has to take over. Steve McGrew will be there, another regional manager, or regional vice president from San Diego area. So we'll have some chiefs there. So if you want to just really bend somebody's ear, bend theirs. And other than that, I don't think, does anybody know what Dodd-Frank's real name is? I mean, what it really means? And then I'm going to be done. You know what the actual act is?
Oh, God. Was this on my real estate renewal? No.
Okay, the actual act is called the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act.
There you
That's
go.
why they call it Dodd-Frank, and it was narrated and put into Frank by, of course, Chris Dodd and Barney Frank, if you didn't know that, and who really cares?
Our two favorite legislators.
There you go. With
Before
that,
Brad completely wraps up, I want to do another 2 minutes. First of all,
you get out of the way.
well, don't go too far away. No, you can get over it. This is the deal. Two quick things. First of all, the appraisal best practice thing. We were talking about this in our training class the other day. Not necessarily the appraisal deal, but guys, there were certain things that you just did as a course of a real estate professional, and I realize the market has changed dramatically. It probably will never go back to the way it was, but there are a few things that, old school things, that actually work. That appraisal thing is one of them. It was standard practice of when you were the listing agent and the appraisal was to be done next Tuesday with the appraisal. It was never, it's vacant, to go see a lockbox, or my seller will meet you there with a key. If you were a and again, I got to tell you, I have not attended an appraisal on one of my listings in years. That doesn't mean that that's the right way to do it. We all should be going out, meeting the appraiser, especially in this marketplace, as values are starting to rise and appraisers are coming in with challenging because the comps out there. If you're not meeting the appraiser out on your listing, you're making a mistake. If for all the reasons Brad just said. I mean, given the comps, appraisers are naturally lazy, just like anybody else. If somebody can give them the information, and you're limited on what you can say and do, and you can't certainly strong arm, that'd be a violation of whatever the code is. But sitting there with accurate information, these are the comps I used. Can I get you a cup of water? How about a barbecue lunch? Tickets to the Dodger game? No, of course you can't do that sort of stuff. But for sitting there professionally, explaining them what's going on, these are the comps that I use. Now again, if you don't have comps to justify the value, then you got a problem. But we all should be doing that. One other little quick sidebar, then I want to comment something about Brad. Who's been doing this business long enough when the practice was, when you wrote an offer, you called the listing agent and you said, Mr. Browers, I've got an offer on your listing. I'd like to present it to your seller. When can we get together and meet with them so that I may personally present my offer to your seller? Been a little while? Do you remember? You remember those days, right?
We were sitting in the living room with 20 other agents.
That was standard of practice. That's what you did. And if the call came in on Sunday evening at 9 p.m. from a buyer's agent that said, I've got an offer on your listing on Main Street, it wasn't, email it to me and I'll get back to you in a week, or it's 9 p.m. on Sunday. What are you doing? Call me tomorrow. That's not what we did. We would say, cool, I'll call you back in 5 minutes. You'd call your seller, 9 p.m. on Sunday. Guess what? We got an offer. Someone came through this afternoon. You might even have seen him. Okay? I want to come over. Do you really want to come over? Yes, we're coming over tonight. We'll see you at 10 o'clock. Sit back. If Brad was the agent, Brad would go through. Out of respect, you would let, even if the guy was a nincompoop, you let him present the offer. Debbie or somebody was just telling me a story Debbie just had this happen. It's the first agent that I know has had this happen in a while. How many offers were on the property? A bunch. One of the agents said, I'd like to present in person. Debbie let them do that. What offer did your seller accept?
That agent's offer.
The agent that accepted in person.
The agent worked in buyer, the agent let us do that.
Right.
Did it.
Right. You guys, now again, one of the reasons that became a not standard of practice is because if you call me and you want to present your offer directly to Fannie or Freddie or the bank or whatever, you know, it's like you can't do that. So we got away from that. Now it's a short sale seller, you know, whatever. But as we've already talked about, the majority of what we have in the inventory now are standard sellers. These are real people, okay? We are salespeople, okay? Don't forget that we are salespeople. The sales process does not end when you've got a buyer who has signed the agreement. You need to professionally sell the listing agent, and if at all possible, ask the question. I got to tell you, you actually will enjoy it, and I guarantee you your chances of getting your offers accepted will increase dramatically. And on the flip side, if you're the listing agent and you have an agent that says, hey, I'd like to present my offer, don't look at them like they're from Mars, okay? Say, oh, I've heard about that. Aha. Might not be a bad idea. Let me call my seller and let's see what we can do to get this done. Okay? So, and again, I think it will also do something to raise the level of professionalism. Okay, one other thing back to Brad I want to talk about, and then we got to go because my client's here waiting for us and you guys have stuff to do. I want to restate what Brad said about PHH because I think that might have gotten lost on many of you. Okay? Coldwell Banker Mortgage, kind of like the Realogy deal. Realogy is the parent company of Coldwell Banker, Century 21, yada, yada, yada. PHH, number 5, okay. When I signed up with Coldwell Banker 10, 11 years ago, went to New Jersey, Parsippany, went in a building which is literally 100 times bigger than this. I don't know if they still operate out of the same deal, but the size of this building, their bullpen was 2 or 3 football fields. It was ridiculous. Cubicles just like this with just hundreds of people on the phone hawking loans. I realized really quickly that this was one interesting organization because this corner of the building, they had a big Coldwell Banker Mortgage banner up. I don't know if it's still the same way now or not. And there was 200 people working on the Coldwell Banker Mortgage, processors and underwriters and doing all their stuff. That corner of the building was Century 21, which I thought was interesting. Kind of made me feel a little odd, to be honest with you. I'm Coldwell Banker, what's a C21 crap going on here? And then ERA. But to be honest with you, our corner of the building was relatively small. Then I started looking at the rest of the building, and I saw big flags up there that said, you know, Provident Mortgage. Okay, well, that was interesting because we've got a Provident Bank over here. And then I saw another big banner that said American Express Mortgage. And I thought, wow, that's kind of a big deal. You know, American Express is no slouch of a company. So the point I'm trying to make is Coldwell Banker Mortgage is not Coldwell Banker Mortgage. Coldwell Banker Mortgage, they're a big deal. Again, number 4-ish in the country. These guys know what they're doing. They've done good loans. Now, I want to talk about Brad for 30 seconds, then we're out of here. I have been reluctant to stand up at a meeting like this and say, I want you guys to give Brad a shot. And I've been reluctant to do that for a couple reasons. Number one, I don't strong-arm anybody on where they give their business to. You have a relationship with Joe and Sally and Mary, I'm never going to change that. Same thing with Summer. You know, as much as I love and appreciate you guys using Summer, there's not one person in this room that can come and say, boy, Lance just beat me up because I didn't use Summer on this last deal. Okay? I've never done that, and I never will. I would love you to use her. If she does a good job for you, she's going to do a good job. So this is the deal with Brad. I am never going to beat anybody up to use this man. And one of the reasons I haven't made this speech a little sooner is because, and Brad and I have had this conversation many times, is how many lenders start rolling through here, and frankly, let's say hello to Susie this morning. How many lenders, title officers, escrow officers, home warranty people come through and consistently show up in the business and do a decent job consistently? The answer is hardly any. There is one exception in the room at the moment, okay? Same thing applies to lenders. I didn't want to stand up 3 months ago and say, hey, you guys, I want you to use Brad. He's a great guy. He's my guy, okay? Because to be honest with you, I wasn't sure he was going to be here a month later or 2 months later. Now, the reality is we're 3.5 months later. He's still here, okay? I don't know whether he's going to be here in another 3 months, but I will tell you one thing. The guy knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. So, if you have an opportunity, give him a shot. Treat him the same way you treated Summer. Okay? If you were suspect, I don't know about Summer, you gave her a shot, she did a good job, you used her again, do the same thing with him. If he doesn't do a good job, I want to know about it, because quite honestly, I will kick him out. Okay? But believe it or not, the guy knows what he's talking about. Okay? And it's a little tough. Imagine yourself as a salesperson coming into an office, you have no business, and all you can do is sell. That can get a little annoying, downright, frustrating for you guys. Anyway, give him a shot, see what you can do. Give me some feedback, give him some feedback. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Okay? All right, guys. Thanks, Susie. All right, let's get out. Really think was ultimately a very, very bad situation for the market was the death of stated income loans. But we abused it, okay? As somebody who needs a stated income loan, which is, when I say somebody, all of us need stated income loans. As independent contractors, we're hopefully making significant scratch, okay? But we also have the ability as independent contractors to write off everything legally and legitimately under the sun. That in effect say, hey, I can write off this and I can write off that because I'm running my own business. Unfortunately, from a tax return standpoint, that can create real problems. So when you turn in a tax return and say, wow, I just made $250,000 last year. Well, your tax return says you made 20. So it's a little difficult to qualify for that house. So stated income loans were always a nice method for folks like us to be able to go buy some houses based upon the fact that we did really make some money. Hopefully we had reasonable credit and we haven't had that damage in the last few years with this market. But anyway, it sounds like they're coming back. I know, because I asked Brett if PHH did those, and for no other reason, I know that not everybody did stated income loans. And a lot of the people that did do them, one of the reasons we don't have them today the way we did before is because they now let the gardener do stated income loans. Had no income and stated that he made $250,000, when in reality he made $30,000. So, hey, we'll see. So anyway, tomorrow at 1, Brad, did you have any specific things you wanted to talk about in tomorrow's class, or just want to just leave it open and we'll see how it flows?
Well, if anybody will shoot me an email, if there's something you want me to specifically have anything about, whether it be FHA, VA, conventional financing, tricks of the trade, the USDA program, stuff like that. I'll have a little bit of information on Dodd-Frank. You can even bring your own scenario, if you got a scenario or a particular deal. I know that, normally most everybody else will.
For tomorrow, it says contracts. Pretty sure it does. I just looked at it yesterday, unless you changed it. Anyway, we're done with contracts. We finished part 3 of our contract class yesterday. What we're going to do tomorrow, oh, there's Brad, is Brad is going to take an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever time we can fill and basically do a class on the mortgage side of what we're doing. So Brad and I talked about it yesterday. We thought we'd kind of make it a little bit of an open forum kind of deal. So if you guys have some specific questions or some topics, you hear all this stuff about Dodd-Frank. I think for most of us, myself included, whenever I hear Dodd-Frank, I just kind of say like, okay, what does that exactly mean for us on a day-to-day basis? And you'll hear about rules or regulations or rules and regulations that aren't set. But at any rate, does anybody have any specific financing related stuff they'd like to see? Any requests? Open mic?
Income loans.
What's that?
How about stated income loans?
Stated income loans? Okay, they're coming back a little bit. Has PHH got a stated income program?
Not yet.
Okay. Keep in mind when I say PHH, Brad's got his Coldwell Banker mortgage badge on, but he's basically also PHH, which is the 4th largest lender in the country.
You put them all together,
Yeah,
it's
put them
number
all
4.
together. So stated income is coming back. a matter of fact, I saw a couple emails within the last month that basically talked, you know, pretty much almost 100% financing program. I don't know who's doing that or where it's coming from, or whether it's, you know, Joe's House of Loans out of Tijuana, or what's going on. Be careful with that, needless to say. And the same thing with stated income. I got to tell you, one of the things that
So if we keep that to, you know, 4 or 5 minutes tops per scenario, it can just kind of give you the lay of the land of what's happening with the guidelines. The guidelines are actually misquoted these days. It's not a guideline anymore. It used to mean you could go a little above or a little below. It's a rule. It's period. They don't hedge at all. Common sense is gone. There's no common sense in lending anymore. So just shoot me an email and we'll cover it tomorrow. It's
Okay.
your day.
sounds good then. So on the calendar, who looks at this? Please, oh, okay, good. I was going to say, please, someone raise their hand. Okay, I got 4 or 5 people raising their hand. Okay, our calendar for tomorrow's training is wrong. We are not doing the purchase contract. We are done with the purchase contract. So we'll go ahead and have Brad do some mortgage stuff. And then next Thursday, it looks like we're back on track. We're going to do listing agreements and then disclosures and then more disclosures and stuff. So keep an eye on that as well. One thing I noticed we haven't done yet is we need to get the Claremont and the Covina and the Redlands schedule up there too. So we don't have any of that on there. So at any rate, okie dokie. Let me go back here. Okay, so our training calendar is up to date. Our monthly sales awards, which Drew has prepared and are ready to go.
Whoops.
Not. But we do have names. So our March highest closed sales agent is Michael Bowout. Michael! There he is. It's been a while since Mike's been to the sales meeting. He must have known that he was the top dog for March, so here he is. And we'll get you a nice framed plaque here shortly. And I don't see her here, we actually had a top listing agent for last month, and that was Diane Arnold, and Diane is out. So, at any rate, give Diane a hand in her absence. Okay, anyway, okay, we're going to get going. I pulled this quote from General Patton this morning. So I got to tell you, in our business, if you're not prepared to take some risks, you're in the wrong business. It seems like we're always taking calculated risks. So anyway, welcome to our April meeting. We're going to get rolling. We do have a couple of new agents. I can't remember their name. Benjamin is one of them, and another one, and neither one of them are here. However, did I introduce Ingrid last time?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to introduce Ingrid a second time. Because Ingrid has kind of taken on a little bit of a new role for us in addition to the role she was doing before. Ingrid's going to be doing some recruiting calls. Not going to be doing some recruiting calls, she is doing some recruiting calls. So I'm getting all sorts of wonderful, is that too loud? I feel like I'm loud. I'm getting all sorts of wonderful compliments about Ingrid. Specifically, for no other reason, we've got her in the bullpen. We've got her in probably one of the more highly trafficked areas of the bullpen, with maybe the exception of down on the property management side. And she's on the phone all day, talking to agents. She really has no idea what our business is about. And
who does?
She's, right, exactly.
Fits in well.
Right. But she's not shy. And she sounds good. Again, honestly, I haven't heard her make one phone call, but from what I've heard from those around her, that she's pretty darn good. So anyway, she's been making some phone calls, following up on some offers that Drew and Stacy have been writing. And then about a week or so ago, we kind of transitioned her into, 20% of her day or 50% of her day is doing that. And the rest of her day is basically making recruiting phone calls, which of course we're all familiar with getting those recruiting phone calls. So at any rate, the only reason I point that out is there might be a lesson to be learned by all of us, by somebody who really knows nothing about our business, just thrown in a bullpen in front of a bunch of people that she doesn't know. And granted, she gets paid to make the phone calls, okay? If she's not making the phone calls, I'm going to fire her. But we all could probably learn a lesson from that. This business really isn't that complicated. You pick up the phone, make the phone calls. Don't be embarrassed to make the phone calls. And I know what that feeling is. It just seems like yesterday I was a brand new agent in this business and, you know, had a desk in the bullpen, just like everybody here. And I can remember it just seemed like it took forever, and I mean months, maybe even longer, maybe years, before I actually really felt comfortable sitting in a bullpen. Yet, forget about talking to clients, but God forbid actually making that phone call. Hey, this is Lance Martin with Coldwell Banker, calling to see if you might be interested in selling your house. That's tough. And I got to tell you, it must be tough, because to be blunt, I don't see anybody doing it. I really don't. Now, maybe you're doing it elsewhere. Maybe you're doing it at home, or you're doing, but I don't see people in the bullpen prospecting. So, at any rate, if you just want to maybe kind of stand over here and pretend you're going to go to the restroom and, you know, listen to Ingrid. From what I hear, she's pretty good. So, at any rate, we'll see. And frankly, with this new agent slide in mind, you know, recruiting is the lifeblood of this business. Needless to say, Prudential's in town, and other offices I'm sure will be coming into town as the office changes or as the market changes. But we're going to do some strategic recruiting. So again, thanks again to Ingrid. Brad's around here somewhere. He missed his spotlight, so we're going to go right by him. Website portals, make sure you guys are continuing to check the portals.
He's making coffee.
It's my complete understanding that on a regular basis we're not checking the portals. You need to check the portals, there's a lot of good stuff there. Our Coldwell Banker calendar is pretty much up to date, although the training schedule needs to be tweaked. If you look at the training schedule,